Right guys, so welcome back to another video. This is part 2 to the previous one where we installed all the stage 2 parts on the GTI. We're going to be heading down to MRC Tuning today, get the car loaded on the dyno, upload a stage 2 file and simply see how much more power we can get with just those mods. So a quick little recap on the hardware that the GTI is now running. We've still got the stock airbox, but I've put a ram air panel filter in there. We've also teamed that up with a forged turbo inlet pipe, so that goes directly onto the turbocharger. Still a stock IS20, totally unmodified. And we've also got a 3-inch catless downpipe, got it off eBay, so it's nothing special. I also upgraded the ignition system, so I went for a set of NGK spark plugs, the R7438-9 variant. They're recommended for stage 2 and above. And we've also got some APR coil packs just as a preventative measure. I am still running the stock intercooler as well with a very old aircon condenser, so I'm sure the airflow isn't going to be the greatest, but the whole point of this is to do like a stage 2 light, let's say. Now I will put a little tally on the screen right there of what all of these parts cost me in the previous video. A lot of you folks were asking in the comments, but without further ado, let's get on the road and get you guys some numbers. Right, so a bit of deja vu back on the dyno. So we've got the old graph on the screen here. So this is what it made last time on stage 1. So 306 PS and 478 Newton meters. What we're going to do is we're just going to run the car as it is with the new hardware on the same file, see what it makes, and then we'll go from there. Right, so we've done a few runs. Doug's just found out an issue with the car. Essentially, we've got a binding brake on the rear.
I thought I had a slipping clutch because it smelled so bad.
Right.
And just walking past the wheel, you could feel it on the leg, the heat. And you just go around, you can feel this is really hot. Yeah, this has basically turned into a massive radiator. So it's actually made slightly less on the initial runs compared to last time. Intake temps are quite hot today, aren't they? They're up at nearly 70 degrees C, so you're never going to make peak power numbers at that temperature. Yeah, and that also, the binding brake situation is causing issues on the rundown, isn't it, as well? A binding brake is always going to cause more losses when you're on the dyno, and it could be even more losses the hotter it gets on rundown. This dyno measures losses, so it's not an exact, it's doing X or it's doing whatever. It's going to be screwing up the results in one respect, and I don't trust the numbers. Right. You've got a binding brake or an issue on the car like that. Yeah, so basically the a higher mileage Mark 7 strikes again. In the last video it was a rusty exhaust clamp. Now we've got brakes that are an issue. Maybe I should have just replaced them when I did the fronts, but live and learn, I guess. Now I know what you're thinking. You're saying, hold on, your GTI's front wheel drive. Why do we care what your back wheels are doing? And why can't you just disconnect the rear rollers to get a more accurate number? Well, MRC tend to cater more towards 4-wheel drive cars, so for them to disconnect the rear rollers, it's quite a lengthy process. You have to get under there and manually do it. Doesn't really make sense for a few dyno pulls, but in any case, we still loaded on the stage 2 file, and this is what resulted. So pretty big flames on that run, considering we've just got a decap. But what sort of numbers did we manage to get then, Doug? 318, 316, so it's a little bit more, but then it just gets too hot and it just dies. So running more boost, it doesn't always give you more here. Stock intercooler is just limiting it. You get a little bit more torque.
Yeah.
There's about 40% left in the actuator, so there's more boost to be had top end, but until it's cool, you're not going to do anything with the boost.
Now I know some of you guys are going to be a bit disappointed with them numbers. You're thinking all of that effort in the previous video and you only got an extra 18 PS. Fundamentally that is the case. Heat is the biggest killer of power, as Doug mentioned, and the oil sensor lights just cropped up again. I thought I'd seen the last of that a few months ago, but here we are. So yeah, stage 2, if you want the best numbers, get an intercooler. I mean, it was always an experiment for me anyway, because I wanted to see how much extra power we can get with just a few basic bits of cheap hardware. Got a bridge here. But yeah, I'm here on a back road anyway, so I'll let you guys know what it's like in comparison to before. And I also haven't given any impressions of this new braking system since we fitted it, so yeah, we'll go through the motions. Now I'm pretty certain it's not placebo, because obviously we've got so many extra noises going on, like the bangs, and we've got a lot more intake noise. Stage 1 used to feel like it tailed off towards the top end. Obviously it's still only a small IS20 turbo, so you're never going to get the craziest power band, but there's definitely a lot more of a surge. I know you can see a lot of wheel hop, but trust me, this thing's flying. Quickest 318 PS I've driven. I actually leave the dampers in comfort on this, on these Bilsteins. I find that the sport setting is quite hardcore, because these are the Damptronic B16s. On a track they're fine. Now touching upon the track topic, as you guys know, we fitted the DS2500 pads with the Club Sport S discs a few weeks ago, and a few people are asking how they like day to day, because I do daily this car. I've had no issues, to be honest. The pedal feel is fine when it's cold, and I actually went on my first track day as well. Didn't record a full video, but here's a few clips of me trying to stay out of everyone's way. So as you saw, pretty flat track. It's Blyton Park. It was about 2.5 hours up. I thought, you know what, let me just try and learn the ropes a bit before trying to do a full-scale video and embarrassing myself. I'll be sure to do a full video the next time I reach the track, but yeah, I had no issues with the brakes whatsoever. Lovely feel. The only areas where the car was sort of hampered, let's say, is in terms of like it letting off a huge plume of smoke after 5 laps of abuse. And I'm pretty convinced it's not the clutch. I've been thinking it's the clutch the whole time, but I think it's the PCV, and that's the reason why a lot of you folks do run a catch can. Turbo noise is going. Oh, and then that torque to get you out the corner. The little IS20 is plenty powerful enough, plenty. I'll be interested to see how the power band changes when switching to an IS38. Or am I switching to an IS38? We'll see. That's with traction on. It doesn't feel like it's cutting power in any bad way. It manages it a bit, but that's kind of what you want it to do. I think it's working well with the wave track. Now my reasoning for leaving traction on this whole time is because when you put it into sport or fully off, by the way, I have coded this thing in VCDS so I can fully turn off traction control. Ordinarily from factory you can't on a GTI, but I'll stop rambling, I'll do it now. You'll notice it's doing this quite machine gun like overrun, which is what you saw on the dyno. Not my thing. It's a bit yeah, I don't like other people seeing me doing that, because I feel like they're thinking, who's this idiot driving down the road? Now MRC's explanation for that is because this is an earlier GTI and it doesn't have overrun from the factory, it's either like that or you don't have it at all. Okay, let's boot it in first. I'll turn traction off. Okay, clutch just completely had a yeah, can smell quite a bit now. Rule of thumb, this clutch works perfectly fine everywhere else apart from standing starts with traction off. I do wonder when this thing's gonna let go. Yeah, it's definitely sticking that. smells really bad as well. To go around to this side, yeah, it's all good. So this is what was happening on the dyno earlier in the video. Yeah, it's chewing away at the pads now as well. Okay, so I thought I'd just quickly get the car up on the quick jack following that fiery brake situation. See if it grabs at all when moving it like this. I'm pretty sure that isn't really grabbing. Let me check the other side. Similar sort of noise, you're going to get that because there's the brake disc moving around. And yes, my center cap blew off. I thought it fell off on the road somewhere, then I noticed it was just lying here on the floor. So I'm assuming after the drive it just gave up. Wheel off. Right, so this has turned into a little post track day wear update, even though you barely saw any clips on the track day. But as we can see here, we've still got plenty of tread on the rear, but the rubber has kind of melted together in the middle. That's not dirt, so maybe there was quite a bit of stress on the rear of the car around some of them turns. Now in terms of these rear brakes, these are the standard GTI ones, so they're non-vented, and from what I can see here, these pads have started to go a bit more orangey red. They weren't like this a few days ago, so there's definitely something going on. Right, so I think we'll end the video here. That's enough abuse of the GTI. It's still boiling even though it's been off for about 45 minutes, but luckily nothing else is broken apart from what we already knew. Could have easily had a few more issues, but keep soldiering on provided you chuck a lot of money at it. But yeah, I'll order an intercooler and get those rear brakes. We'll do another video, maybe return to the dyno. Yeah, drop a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe for a lot more content to come. And yeah, the next video will have a lot more DIY in it. I do prefer that over driving now, I'll be honest.